Hi, it's Lori Kleiman, and I have had amazing requests from my audience to create a class on compliance. Now, everybody knows that I am not a fan of HR being the rule makers and the ones that are always looking to make sure nobody's crossing that line. But everybody knows that it's our job as HR professionals to be on top of compliance. And there are so many nuances, so many little ins and outs of what we have to be on top of that people really would like to have a class. So here we go. In just a couple of weeks, I'm starting HR 101, Compliance for Your HR Function. The class will meet 4 weeks in a row. Each week we'll meet just like this, live on video for 1 hour. You'll be on, I'll be on, we can have conversations. It's not like a recorded webinar that you're just gonna listen to. Occasionally you might have to miss a class because life happens, work happens, things go on. Not to worry. Everything's recorded. So what will happen is by the next morning, you'll get a link from me of the recording. It's an MP4 and you can listen to it from anywhere. You will also be able to download and save that recording. So if you want to listen to it later, you can. We are going to be using content from my HR Hacks Toolkit. And each week, I will share a couple of those tools that are relevant for the discussion we're having that week. We'll talk about general compliance, compliance in recruiting. The next week, we'll talk about compliance in onboarding and retaining employees. And finally, we'll talk about compliance in compensation and benefits. It should be a great 4 weeks. I know a lot of people like to see exactly how this is going to go. So what I'd like to do now is share with you just a little section of what is going to make up an actual class. We've got to talk about the I-9 form. I'm sometimes surprised just how much time I end up spending at events talking about the I-9 with people. But there are all sorts of questions. And we know that in 2019, that form should be updated. So it's my job to stay on top of that for you and let you know what's coming. Typically, we'll have a really good conversation around collecting documents. Should you keep copies of the driver's license and social security card, for example, or just complete the form? Legally, your only obligation is to complete the form. We'll also talk about how to audit your own I-9s and when to get rid of them. You only have to keep I-9s the longer of 3 years from date of hire and 1 year of from date of separation. And I'll be giving you a little sample tool that you can use to know when to get rid of your I-9s. Now, in a compliance class, we are going to have to talk about the Me Too movement and what that means for anti-harassment and discrimination training in your business. We'll talk about actual policies and what you need to have in yours. I believe every policy needs 5 components. Those 5 components are the definition of harassment, who to report harassment to, how you will go about the investigation, the ability to keep information confidential, and finally, a non-retaliation statement. During the class, I will help you look at each one of your policies and make sure if you don't have those 5 components, how we can get those incorporated. We'll also talk about on-site harassment training. What are the best ways to do it to meet the needs of your workforce and your legal obligations? One of my jobs as the facilitator of the course is to stay on top of current emerging lawsuits and trends that are going on in Washington, D.C. The two that are most interesting from last year are the ability for us as business people to minimize the damage through arbitration agreements and having employees waive their right to a class action lawsuit. Both of those things should be incorporated into everybody's business today. But in order to do it, you must have a signed separate document. This is a case where I might suggest a lot of you talk to your corporate attorney. I will not be giving legal advice, but I will be giving you tools and tricks and tips to comply with the laws that we know exist. This is a case that is still so new. I will rise the attention. I will make sure you are aware that it's something you need to be thinking about, and then tell you how to take that action. Finally, we couldn't possibly have a class on compliance without talking about employee handbooks and what you need to be updating to make those handbooks relevant for today and comply with all the laws you need to comply with. We'll be talking about various state and local laws and what you need to do to stay on top of that. Some of these other laws are the ones that we want to make sure are part of everybody's handbook. I will be giving you a 2-page self-assessment out of my HR Hacks toolkit to assess your own employee handbook. We'll be talking about what the National Labor Relations Board is doing right now to really give some power back to employers in terms of social media and IT. And it's really a nice turnaround for us. So those are some of the ideas of things that we'll be working on during the class. Those of you who know me also know that I will be asking for your input. You can ask any questions you want to ask. And participation in this class includes a lifetime membership to my private Facebook group. That is a great place for you to be able to ask questions, get answers not only from me, but from the rest of the HR community that faces many of the same issues you're facing. So sign up soon. We are going to cap the enrollment, and I don't want anyone to be left out. So many people have asked about this class that I am sure we're going to fill it up, and we would love to see you there. As with anything, if you've got any questions, feel free to email me at lori@hrtopics.com, and I will be happy to answer any of your specific questions. Looking forward to seeing you all in the class. I know it's going to be a great couple of weeks together. Bye-bye.